Hello and welcome to the next YouTube video on my channel. Today I will show you a very strong checkmate and 8 moves trap with which you can completely destroy the Spanish opening, also called the Ruy Lopez. So this trap obviously then starts with the Spanish game. Pawns to e4 and e5. Now our opponent, or the player who plays the white chess pieces, continues with knight to f3, attacking our pawn here on e5, and we defend our pawn with the move with our knight on c6. Now our opponent continues with bishop to g5, the main or also called the key move of the Spanish game. And here we now answer with knight to f6, attacking white's pawn on e4. This is called the Berlin defense of the Ruy Lopez. The most common reply to the Berlin defense is to do the short castling now. This move not only protects the king by moving it in the corner of the chessboard behind this pawn wall, but it also brings the rook now in the center of the chessboard, where he is way stronger than in the corner. Now, normally, the player who plays the black chess pieces continues with taking out white's pawn on e4 with the knight, on which white answers with the very strong move rook to e1, attacking the knight and winning the pawn here back. But in the trap, which I would like to show you in this video, this variation, which is called the open game of the Ruy Lopez, does not happen. Instead, after the white army has done the short castling, we continue with the very aggressive and also very interesting move, knight to g4. While the logical move for our opponent seems to be pawn to h3 to attack the knight and push it back on its own half of the chessboard, this in fact sets up for immediate failure, because on pawn to h3 we don't move back our knight, which is attacked now on g4, but we rather sacrifice our knight by playing pawn to h5. And here it is very big mistake for the player who plays the white chess pieces to fall for this trap, so to take out our knight here on g4. Because in the trap we continue now with taking out white's pawn back with our own pawn from h5, attacking the white knight here on f3 now. And actually it is a mistake here to move away the knight, because of the following. If the knight here moves away, for example a player who has never played against this trap will move away the knight, for example on e1 or on h2. And let's say he moves on h2, because now he's not controlling the h2 square, which is very important in this trap, but he stands on it. And here, after the very strong move queen to h4, we have a checkmate here on h2, and the white army has to do something against it. And here the white army has really only 3 different options or ways how to not get checkmated in one move instantly. The first one is rook to e1, because here, after we take out white's knight on h2 with check, the king has this square here, the f1 square, on which he can escape. But here we will just continue with a very strong move, knight to d4, not only attacking the white bishop on b5, but also blocking the very important e2 square. So here we are threatening with checkmate in one move again on h1. The second option for the white army, how to not get checkmated in one move in this position here instead of rook to e1, is pawn to f3. Because here, if we would take out white's knight here on h2 with the queen with check, the king could just escape on this f2 square where the pawn isn't standing anymore. Therefore, we don't take out the white knight on h2 after pawn to f3, but we rather play the very strong move pawn to g3, blocking the f2 square, so not leaving the option for the white army to escape on f2 with the king, and also again threatening with checkmate after queen to h2 in the next move. And the third option how to escape the immediate checkmate is not the move with the pawn on f3, but rather on f4. But here not really much is changing, because after pawn to g3, mate is again here hanging on h2, which is very bad for our opponent who plays the white chess pieces. But even if our opponent could somehow escape from checkmate, we will still be up a lot of material and we will definitely be in a way better position than the white army. Actually, when the player who plays the white chess pieces moves the f-pawn 1 or 2 squares up to escape the immediate checkmate, we can play a very strong move against it, and that's bishop to c5 with check, because now the king can only escape on h1 if he wants to escape, and then queen to h2 is checkmate. Another option how to escape this is to play rook on f2 to block this check. Here we just take out the rook and we win material again. And the third option how to block this check is with this pawn, but here we again just take out the pawn with check, and white has to move the rook here, or take the bishop out with the queen, which is very bad, or move on h1, which is a forced checkmate in the following move. So we have seen now that if our opponent falls for our trap in the Spanish opening, or also called the Ruy Lopez, for the fishing pole trap, then he gets just completely destroyed in the following moves. Our opponent either loses the game by checkmate in the following moves, or loses lots of material, with which both aren't really good options. Therefore, I consider this the strongest trap against the Ruy Lopez opening. So now one thing for you if your opponent tries to play this trap against you when you play the Spanish game. So there are at first no problems if you try to play pawn to h3 to kick away the knight after they have played the main, also called the key move of the fishing pole trap. But it is a mistake to take out the knight after they sacrifice it by playing pawn to h5. If they do this, then we should just leave all this alone here and play moves like pawn to c3 or knight to c3 and keep on developing our chess pieces, because here if we don't take the knight, there is no immediate danger. So this was it then already with this video, in which I have shown you the very strong fishing pole trap with which you can destroy your opponent when he tries to play with the Ruy Lopez against you. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like there and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, bye!